It's summertime, y'all. And in today's episode, I am diving into how to find that sweet spot of running a business and navigating sweet summertime. Hey, I'm Amanda, and welcome to the Best Damn Coach podcast, where I will teach you how to coach yourself, how to coach your clients, and how to run your coaching business. The number one goal of this show, though, is to help you be the best damn coach you can be so your clients go out and tell the world about you. So, let's do the damn thing. Hey coaches, before we dive into this week's episode, I'm so excited to tell you about an upcoming free workshop that I'm going to be hosting called How to Create Your Signature Coaching Framework That Actually Sells. Here's the reality. I'm going to drop some truth on you. By 2024, the coaching industry is projected to be over an $11 billion industry. And I know that you decided to be a coach because you want to serve people. And sometimes it feels a little bit frustrating when there's so many brilliant coaches out there, and it might feel impossible that you are going to be the one that stands out above the rest. And sometimes you get lost in those thoughts. You feel yourself slipping into these imposter feelings, wondering, why would somebody choose you? Or are you going to be able to actually get your clients the results that they came to you for? There can feel like there's so much you want to teach them, so much you quote unquote should teach them, that it feels overwhelming and you're not sure where to start and what best next step to take. Cue in your signature coaching framework. Why? Because ain't nobody going to do it like you do it. A signature framework is your methodology, your unique steps, a step-by-step process that you are going to walk your clients through time and time again so they get the exact results that they came to you for. And what I see is a lot of coaches don't actually have it, or they think, I don't have this yet. I haven't been doing this long enough. You are wrong. And that's why on June 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific, I am going to help you create and walk you through how to create your signature coaching framework so that every client that shows up with you gets the results they came to you for. But more importantly, you stand out above a sea of coaches who are doing the exact same things. So I would love for you to join me and don't miss out on this amazing workshop. You can sign up and save your seat at amanda-walker.com/framework. And throughout the process, I'm going to teach you the key to developing a signature framework that actually produces results. I'm going to help you understand some of the biggest mistake coaches make when creating their framework and what to do instead. So join me in this free workshop so you can guarantee that every client comes to you and walks away with the exact results they came to you for. Welcome you guys to the Best Damn Coach podcast. I am so stoked you're here. As always, just so grateful that you choose to subscribe and listen in. If this is your first time listening, by the way, don't forget to go to the subscribe button right now. Hit subscribe because that reminds you every single time we release a new episode, which are Tuesdays, you get the full episode. And then Fridays, you get the short, potent, real-life examples of coaching, which I think are so needed inside of the industry to hear coaching in action to inspire you as both the client and the coach, practitioner, whatever role that you're playing. So as I'm recording this episode, my kids are actually out of school this week. It is like the wind down till summer starts. And we do it really early here in Arizona. I know the majority of the world is still weeks away from starting summer, but by the time this episode airs, we will all be on point. I always find that this time of year is a transition. It's usually, for me, like a much needed shift. I just find that the seasons come at the most perfect time. Maybe you do too, where I'm just like so craving like the next thing. And the next weather change, the next schedule change, I'm craving being like done with making kids lunches for a little while, the rigorous schedule in the morning time. I'm ready for a little bit more flow. I'm ready for change when it comes to summer. And while that's really awesome, the other struggling thing about it is when you run a business or you're starting to run a business is it also creates an opportunity for you to leave this routine that you've established. And for some people, that's really valuable. And for others, especially in the beginning, it also creates kind of this frantic, like, oh, shoot, how am I going to navigate this? How am I going to manage maybe kids being home if you have children and you're running a business? How am I going to manage vacations that I have planned? How am I going to manage just my energy and my energy, like the alignment of my energy wanting to kind of move into summer and the slowdown and this take a break with still being in the driver's seat of my business. And so today, that's what we're going to talk about is preparing your small business for summer and how to navigate the kids at home and running a business. And while I'm talking about the kids, yes, I know many of you are mothers. I also know many of you are not mothers. And so I want to acknowledge that this energetically aligns with all of us, no matter who you are, because summer brings more time for slowdown and a lack of schedule. And when we are in a lack of schedule and routine, that's often where the opportunities for our mind and our negative internal dialogue start to fester, where comparison-itis comes in because we get on the gram and we're like, look at all the things she's doing. And I want to help you really overcome that in today's episode. So honestly, by the time this show airs, we're going to be tackling one of the most interesting things we've ever done as a family is heading out on a 6-week RV summer trip. And as we talk about it, I'm contemplating doing like a private podcast series. I'm thinking I'm going to podcast on the road for future episodes to just talk about how to navigate the life and the business part, but more importantly, just the family lessons and the memories we're going to be creating from this trip for me are just bucket list. And so I'm doing a lot to prepare for that, including batching out all of my podcast episodes that are the must-dos for June and July so that I do not have to worry about making sure that I keep up with amazing content for all of you. But for sure, join me in my Instagram stories because I'm going to be sharing all the learnings, all the places we're going, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd love to just interact with you there as well. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, head over there at A Walk My Way. But really the focal point today is this sweet and lovely balancing act that happens when we merge into summer and perhaps you have your kiddos home, perhaps you're watching grandkids, perhaps you're changing your schedule on your corporate for those of you that are in this phase out of corporate and stepping into opening up your own coaching practice. But I'm going to be sharing some tangible tips today. Of course, it would not be my podcast. It would not be me if before getting into the tangible stuff, I didn't hit you with some of the mindset work first. And that is the foundation before you start putting up, all the walls of paint and the pretty trim and stuff inside of your house that you're building. We have to do the mindset piece. And I talk about management of time and energy often. And one of the metaphors I use is that it takes me back to like the old school radio, right? And I had one of those pull-out radios in my 88 Honda Prelude that had the giant Nike swoosh on the back. I thought it was so cool. But I had that pull-out radio, and I remember that radio so clearly because it had like 6 knobs on it, all different things, volumes, station, treble, bass, da-da-da-da. And I see this as the same as what we're doing constantly in our life and our business is each of those knobs represents an area that we're managing. So maybe it's personal needs, health, right? Or spiritual, family, household, business. And so each of those pillars in our life, the life pie, are like a knob, and we're constantly adjusting and evaluating those knobs. And our goal to create quote unquote balance is to adjust those knobs to mirror and match the season of life that we're in. And so I think as we enter in summer, I think it's important for you to just acknowledge that this may be a different season for you. And season could be 2 months, right? Or 3 months. But giving yourself permission here to not have the knobs turned up as they might have been in the last few months. And so for me, I imagine turning down the business knob and turning up the personal knob slightly or a lot this year, actually. And to me, that's like the real flex in business. It's not necessarily about the profit. It's having 100% control over the knob adjustment. If I was still teaching in my classroom, I don't get so much control over that. If I was in a corporate 9 to 5, I don't get adjustment control. And so while a lot of the industry is out here touting how important making money is, I kind of call bullshit on it consistently because for me, time and location freedom is the most important part of this journey. And still, yes, we need to make money, right? But we don't want to do it at a toxic pace that's sacrificing and making you obsessed with cash flow when you're missing all the beautiful things that entrepreneurship bring in front of you. And that is the ability to have constant control of how you adjust the knobs inside of your business. And so I think it's important to just acknowledge that because you're building a sustainable business And that sustainability, if you're longing to take steps back in the summer and you're not creating that, then you're going to constantly be like, one day when I can take the summer off. And then your kids are going to be grown and gone. And so the idea here is I'm going to challenge you to really look during this and do some things to help you create this freedom in your life, whatever that looks like. So here we go into the tangible steps. Step number 1. As you head into the summer and to prepare for summer, I think it's critical that you be clear on your priority. So this kind of piggybacks off of the pre-mindset work here is this is going to require you to revisit your goals. So you should know exactly what your priority is in the summer. If your summer is all about cash flow, then you want to make sure that the actions you're taking during this time are about cash flow so that you have some sort of live launch or something that you're doing inside of this time frame to focus on growing cash. You're opening the doors to something. You're giving consistent calls to action to something. You might also decide that this is not your priority because you are going to have kids at home. You don't want to be onboarding a whole bunch of clients. Then maybe what you decide is your clear priority during the summer is to work on all things visibility. And so maybe you shift, and a lot of what you're doing is pitching yourself to be on podcasts or speaking events or things of that nature. But I think a lot of what pulls us in multiple directions and increases anxiety and guilt and shame during the summertime is we haven't drilled down on what specifically matters most to us. And we're still doing all the things all the time, just going through the motions and not really sure what we should be doing. Nobody can tell you that, by the way. You have to make that decision for yourself. What is most important to you? And that might be just maintain. Your clear priority might be something outside of business, and you just want to maintain the caseload. And then you have a plan for what happens after the summertime. Tangible step 2 is set your hours. Be very crystal clear from the beginning about what you're going to work and what you are not going to work. This is from a person like massive lessons learned in the beginning. I did not clarify what my hours were going to be or not going to be. And so I was just constantly trying to sprinkle in being with the kids, being with my work, being in the house and managing the house stuff. And so I didn't have a clear cut boundary around some of these things. And so I really was half in on all of them. So I showed up as my half self for pretty much all aspects in the first few summers because the guilt is what kept me trapped in trying to be present for the kids instead of just creating specific hours. And so once I started setting it up in that way, then I actually felt so much better. So I started saying and it could be done many ways. You could decide that Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to be your work days. And Monday, Wednesday, Friday are going to be non-work days and you're going to be present with your family, or those are the days you're going to do day trips, right? Or you start to look at what your weeks ahead and maybe you have multiple trips planned. And so on the beginning of those weeks are your work days so that you can be fully present in those trips later on in the week or in the month, whatever the case is. But what I'm saying right here is look ahead. Flying by the seat of the pants, when you're in it, is going to be what creates the overwhelm. And so this is your opportunity to ask for support, ask for, if you have childcare available or cultivate childcare, whether that's paid, free, whatever. You could do swaps with other mompreneurs. If you are in need of childcare, this is something that I did many summers ago and during COVID. I had other friends that were struggling to have their kids. And so we just swapped days, but be proactive. When I communicated this to my family, who is my support system, they were just so excited that I asked for the help. I asked for help, oh my gosh, we've been just waiting. We would love to have your kids for a day here or a day here. And it was mutually beneficial. The kids got to create relationships with others. I was free to just maximize my day. And when I knew I had, okay, this is my 8 hours, man, I knew exactly what I was going to go in and do. And that became so much more productive. I got so much more done. Tangible tip number 2, I would really encourage you to look at this time of season, this time of year, and just depending upon your niche and who you're serving, and ask yourself, is this a time to really market to something specific in the summer? So this is less about, maybe I should have started with this one, but this is less about your schedule and your needs. It's actually about leveraging the summer season to develop maybe enticing summer packages or promotions to attract new clients and encourage existing clients to continue their coaching with you. I see this especially in the health and wellness industry. It's such a great time for people to be supported. Or you could do promos, bonuses, discounts for longer commitments. through summer specific goals, right? And you might want to really think about where is your ideal client at in their brain, and how could the summertime be like a perfect time? Maybe they have more time on their hands. Maybe it's an opportunity that you haven't thought about before to really market to the season. And I would say equally during the holiday season, the new year, right? It's thinking about what is the journey that your ideal client is on right now, and how could you maybe leverage that? Tip number 4 is I encourage you to communicate to your family around this time of year. Like, bring them into the business, show them what you're doing, but more importantly, why you're doing them. Help them understand the big picture of why you're even running a business in the first place: to serve, to create impact, and to create profit, but show them what that profit is for, right? Maybe it is just to pay your bills, but explain that to them. Or maybe it's to send them to school. Maybe it's to go on a family vacation. Maybe it's to take care of your aging family, right? Whatever it is, I find that my kids just default into the support of that big picture when I communicate it to them. So they understand mom isn't just doing a job. She's not hiding in her office and closing the door to not be with us. But here is the vision that she's after. And when they are looped into that, it becomes so much more potent as a family. And so we love to have those ongoing discussions as a team in our family. Since my husband runs a business too, it's very one of the things that we realized we were really not doing a great job of years ago was just communicating to the kids as they got older. And even when they're teeny tiny, I think we missed out on opportunity. We kind of thought like, oh, they don't necessarily get it. They're too little. But that was not true when we started talking about it. And it inspires them to, be of like mind as they age as well. If you are, next tip is if you are someone who is seeing specific one-to-one clients, or you have maybe a Calendly link or an Acuity link to a sales call, this is a really important time to just adjust that. I see so many people trying to maintain the exact same schedule all year long. And the truth is, manipulate it, work it for you. As we set out on the RV, I don't know what to expect. It's going to be new for me. So I'm adjusting my calendar links accordingly. I shut down podcast interviews. I'm minimizing the days I see clients. I've communicated to my one-to-one clients like, hey, we're doing this bucket list thing. Absolutely going to be available. And there might be times I need to play around with things if Wi-Fi is down or whatever the case is, but bring people into the journey, but communicate ahead of time to your team, or just get ahead of your schedule and start to make those alterations. If you want to make sure there's never work on Friday, then adjust your call calendar so that that space is created. And you're going to find out like there's so much energy and life breathed into you when you make those adjustments. And it's likely that you're going to be like, if I can do this in the summertime, I can do this all year long. For those of you that are full-time in your business, or even those of you that are like shifting right into that, really be mindful as you build this business. You're not leaving a corporate 9-to-5 to build a corporate 9-to-5. And so to give yourself the permission as you build to really develop the hours that you desire. I know in the beginning, I felt like I needed to be available all the time, and it was not true. And I have so much more to give when I am careful about curating the schedule that really breathes life into me. Tip number 6 is front load the important content that needs curated. As I said, I batched all my episodes out for summertime so that my team was ahead of the boat. They appreciate that. They have children or are traveling as well. But what it does is it frees up the excess time that I normally would be maybe putting the pressure on myself to curate content. And that does mean in the front end, I've had to do a little bit more due diligence to kind of plan out my content ahead, but it really benefited everybody. And what this allows is for me to have more margin of the have-tos and the need-tos of things that are important for me to maintain consistency, such as podcasting, such as newsletter writing, etc. So that the spare time that I have is working on the projects that we have going on and maximizing some of those things that have direct ROI to our goal during the summertime. And so for you, that might even mean social media. That could be blog writing, newsletter writing, right? If you think about it, if you're sending one newsletter a week, and you want to get ahead for June and July, that's 8 letters to write, which would take maybe a day, maybe an hour a piece, or maybe less, depending on how efficient you are. And that brings back so much. It's so great to know those things are taken care of. And if anything, you just need some tweaks and adjustments from there. Tip number 7, and this is something actually that I really encourage you to do way before summer and actually for the whole year. And that is block your calendar ahead of time for vacations and communicate that to your clients. So one of the things I give my OBM is my kid's school calendar the moment it is released. And she goes in for me, which I did myself at one point. So grateful that I have the support now to off level and delegate some of these things. And anytime my kids have a day off, she just blocks out my calendar. And that way nobody can book on my calendar for me or over me. That way I don't have surprises when I get to a day off with the kids and my whole calendar's booked and my kids are home. And so I would do the same thing, ahead of time for you. If you know your family's going to be traveling the week of 4th of July, or just in general, you love to have that week off, then go in right now and block it off so that nobody books on top of you. You can always schedule things on there or go back and make adjustments. But the piece is you're front loading and you always have the ability to pull back on some of those things. Same thing with holiday breaks throughout the year. If you want to block those out so you can be fully present with vacations you might be taking, if you have children, being with them, then this gives you that automatic, fast track to already being fully open. Which leads me into tip number 8, which is delegating and outsource. Like, identify if there are tasks that can be delegated during this season, or maybe you can communicate more to your virtual assistant. Here's the things I'm going to need during this time, and maybe be willing to delegate a little bit more, pay a little bit more to your VAs and your support staff, whoever that is. Because remember, the ROI for you is quality of life. And ultimately, that's, I think, the most important aspect of why we're doing what we are doing. And last tip, number 9, you have to embrace flexibility during this. Take advantage of the flexibility that running a coaching practice or service-based practice truly offers. Go outside, work by the pool, incorporate summer activities, communicate and live it, because you are all leading people. Right? And again, I wouldn't ask my clients to do things that I'm not willing to do for myself. So if I'm coaching somebody and I'm like, oh, you should really be going outside, getting into a new environment, block your time off. And then behind doors, you guys saw that I was doing none of that. Then that's not embodying the type of coach I want to be. I want to be a model for my people so that they go out and do the same. And they say, oh, like Amanda can do this. Amanda's doing this. If she's figured it out, then it is possible. And that's the kind of coach that I hope you desire to be and that I want to be for you. This allows you to enjoy the season that you're in while serving your clients effectively, right? You cannot take care of them if you're not taking care of yourself. You can pretend, you can put like a happy face on, you can wear a mask about it, but ultimately if you feel like trash and you're longing to be in another place doing another thing at another time, that does show through your work in some way. And so today, I really just want you to think about, and I don't want you to think this is too late. Oh my gosh, I should have started this earlier. No, like ask yourself right now, what 1 or 2 tangible steps can I take from this episode and apply right now to where I'm at? And then what are the learnings that I can take to even get more ahead next time? Because I think that's for me, really what happened was I started having these learnings and I was like, okay, next summer, I'm never doing this. And I started getting in front of it. And I've acquired now all these tips that I just shared with you that truly allow me to be present and run a business in the summer and be fully present with the kids. And I don't really desire to take like the summer off. I love being able to be both and both on my terms, but you might be somebody that wants to fully take the summer off too. And so just thinking about that is possible, right? Part of this is, for me, I don't feel and I don't want to feel that I'm like just counting down the days to retirement because I'm waiting to live the life that I desire. This freedom that we create by building our business is me living the life I desire while I build it. And retirement will come someday when I'm just like, okay, cool, I'm done. Not because I have to or I'm counting down the days. Right. But truly, it's, again, that embodiment, that be her now, the woman you're becoming, right? The business you imagine building in 3 years or even a year from now. What steps can you take to build it right now so you can fully feel that, like, okay, this is possible for me. So I hope you guys are having an amazing kickstart to your summer, and hop on over to my Instagram, ask me any questions that you have. I'll be chatting about this episode throughout the week in my stories, showing you examples. And again, by the time this episode is out, I will be living that RV life. I hope loving it. We'll see. 4 of us, 2 dogs, going all the way across the US. I'm super stoked about it, honestly. Just like a total bucket list opportunity for us. And we never thought that we would be doing it this season of life. So we're so excited to be able to do it with our kids at the ages that they are. And I hope for you too, that you're creating these bucket list opportunities and moments as you build a business of your dreams as well. So enjoy the episode. Please, if you haven't left a review, I really appreciate the feedback, how these episodes resonate with you, what you want more of. I'm always open to those discussions as well. So we will chat soon. And until then, go out and coach them up. Every week, I put my heart and soul into this podcast to bring you value and to help you grow as a person and as a coach. And one of the ways, very simple ways you can return that favor is by leaving us a review. So if you haven't left us a review, head on over to Apple or Spotify, leave us a review, let us know how we're doing, let us know what content you love and which content pieces are really speaking to you now.